Alright, let's get started with the recap of round 2. In round 2, I was playing against international master Salome Melia. She's from Georgia. I actually played against her in 2016 during my first and last Olympiad. And I was also playing with the black pieces, and I remember that our team lost horribly, but I made a draw. And I was really happy about that. And I checked the game actually real quick to see what happened because big chance that the same opening would be on the board. Turns out that the game was pretty boring. Nothing too crazy happened. I mean, I would say for me it was exciting as in I'm playing against a strong player and I'm making a draw. So I think for me it was exciting, but generally the game was not so interesting. I did not know what to expect today, but I did know that she is almost always playing the move e4. There we go. I played the French. In the game of 2016, we also played the French, but she played a different line during that game. So the game went d4, d5, knight e2, and c5. I've been playing knight f6 for the longest time. I might still play it. I don't know. I've also been playing, I've been playing everything against this. And today I decided to play c5. I decided to change things up. She played knight gf3. This is yeah, I expected. I mean, I didn't expect her to play this per se, but I did know that she plays this. Is one of the lines she plays. And here I take. Here she can take on d4. But I really like the position after knight c6, and black gets a lot of development, and it actually doesn't really feel like a French anymore. She went e takes d5 instead, which pretty much transposes to the main line in the Tarrasch. Queen takes d5, bishop c4, queen d6. So short castle, knight f6, knight b3, knight c6. This is all normal. I was actually not sure if I'm supposed to play knight f6 or if I can play a6 or if I need to move my queen already. All sorts of moves. I mean, if you move the queen, you'll just drop the pawn right away. I guess that doesn't make much sense. But yeah, these kind of ideas start to, you know, move around in your head, and you feel like, is this good? Is that move? Oh, not that one. Is this move good? Is it not good? Do I need to play something else? You start to think about all sorts of things. But okay, I went with knight f6 because, well, at least I'm stopping any sort of knight e4. I don't know if that's what I should be afraid of, but there you go. Knight b3. Knight c6, so she's recapturing the pawn. This is all normal theory. A6, so I mean, it's pretty obvious to stop any sort of check, and knight b5 type of stuff. Rook e1, with the idea that, well, my king has not castled yet, so she wants to play the move knight f5, which is a bit annoying. But you play the move queen c7, which is pretty typical. I was also considering maybe I should play bishop e7, but then I was like, okay, but my plan is to play queen c7 and put the bishop on d6. And I didn't like that this was, it felt a bit passive, and if I play that, then maybe I don't have a plan anymore, stuff like that. So I just went with queen c7 in the end. Bishop f1. I was actually surprised by this move. I don't know if it's theory, but typically you want to keep the bishop on b3 because you always have potential to sacrifice on e6. There are some lines where white is able to sacrifice on e6. I don't know exactly the lines, so it's a bit hard to illustrate it, but before and or after castling short, there are sacrifice opportunities. So yeah, black should always be careful here. But she went for bishop f1, which was a bit surprising to me. So I went bishop d6. And here I was like, okay, if she goes knight f5, then at least I have bishop takes h2, king h1, and I do a short castle. Yeah, okay, short castle is fine. King f8 is also considered. Okay, well, that's interesting. But yeah, I was gonna play short castle, and so there's one crazy line where white takes here, and I don't know if it's in this position where there's like bishop h6. I don't think it's this in this position, but there's one line probably with queen on f3 where white goes bishop h6, and there's like a, well, forced, I mean, I believe either white or both players need to play perfect moves, otherwise you are gonna lose. I played this once with the white pieces against someone, and I didn't know the full line, and I got rolled. So yeah, that was tough, but I feel like it's easier to play this line with the black pieces. But I think because the queen is not on f3, we're talking about a different position now. My opponent went for g3 instead, which is perfectly fine. I mean, obviously she won. She wants to put the bishop on g2 because that's why she played bishop f1. I mean, that would make sense. And I mean, I think the idea is that she wants me to not develop my bishop ever. So, I mean, I'm still able to develop my bishop, but yeah, it will be a bit more difficult to put it on b7. Not impossible, but it's gonna take some time. So I played short castle, and yeah, so I was spending quite some time here. I don't remember how much, but I do remember that I spent quite some time because I was trying to figure out what I want, and obviously I was seeing White's next move, bishop g5, and I still spent quite some time here because originally I was actually thinking to play e5 here. And when I was in this position before e5, I was thinking like, okay, I play e5 and then bishop takes and pawn takes, and I thought this pawn structure, I mean, it looks horrendous, but I think it's alright because I'm having some control in the center and I have the pair of bishops. So I thought I need to have some compensation here. But what I didn't like about this position is that after knight b3, and I was thinking bishop f5 and then queen f3, and okay, I thought I had big problems here. I mean, white has a small edge, I guess. Okay, Engine is becoming more happy about white's position now. But yeah, I didn't like this for black because my pawn on f6 is dying pretty much, and if f6 dies, then what was the point of this variation, right? Why would I do this voluntarily if my pawn does not survive and I'll have an open, an exposed king? So yeah, I didn't like this thought. Oh yeah, so yeah, bishop c2 is actually terrifying because rook ac1, your bishop will be pinned forever, and good luck defending bishop d3 against that, or a simple queen e2, and it will be very difficult to defend. Actually, queen e2, I guess, yeah, you followed up by playing knight a1, yeah. So I was thinking about this, and I didn't like any of my options. Even queen takes c2, you have to leave. Oh wait, okay, I was gonna say my queen is trapped, but I can still take on b2, but I just lose my bishop because I cannot keep defending it anymore. So yeah, I didn't like my options here. After a long thought, there was a few moves in my head. Do I play the move bishop e7? Rook d8? Or, well, I was also considering knight d5, but I really didn't like this move because it felt like the pawn, not pawn, well, I mean, it's defended by the pawn, but it didn't feel like it was good enough of a defense because bishop g2, maybe c4 will follow up in the next few moves, and whenever they take here, I don't know, I don't like the position whatsoever. I felt really uncomfortable here. Maybe it's fine. I mean, I'm just saying 97. Ugh, I don't like that position. It's not my style. So, yeah, then I was considering bishop e7. But it really felt odd that I go bishop d6. I did everything I could to play bishop d6. And then I retreat to e7. Because basically after bishop d6, they played g3 and I was helping them in a way. So that's why I thought bishop e7 made no sense. But it was like last resort. In case I don't like any other move, I go bishop e7. But apparently bishop e5 is fine. I think that was also one of the moves I considered, but I didn't like it because of f4. I'm just happy with this position. Okay, it makes sense. I just didn't want to allow the trade that my opponent has a pair of bishops. I mean, this bishop is trapped, but it feels like this bishop can escape anytime soon, and I just didn't really like my position. But apparently rook d8 and black is fine because you followed up with, well, if the queen leaves from this diagonal, you have queen b6 check. I didn't like this on the board. I didn't like this. There's so much tension on this knight. Blech. Yeah, I went for rook d8 in the end. And yeah, my opponent went for queen f3, which I was a bit surprised about because I thought they were gonna take on f6 for sure. I was accepting the doubled pawn structure, and basically the difference between this position and the position after e5 is that here I can still, you know, have a different pawn structure. The idea is to play, oh, whoa, that was not supposed to be like that. The idea is to play f5 and somehow park the bishop on g7, and this bishop will be very good on the dark squares. And it feels like my position will be, I mean, it's not the greatest, but it will be fine. It will be fine. But for some reason, my opponent didn't go for this. I really thought they would go for this. And even though I have the pair of bishops, my king is really concerning over here. My king position is really concerning. I mean, I was thinking that after queen g4 check, king h8, queen h4, I think something like bishop e7 or... Oh, I was going to play bishop e5 here, I think. But engine is not suggesting it. Bishop e5? Oh, no. Bishop e5 is a bad move. I remember, because bishop d3. Yeah, I remember this. So the idea is that you're threatening checkmate, and obviously you'll be like, oh, let's defend it. f5, boom. But the problem is rook takes e5. Yeah, I considered it, but I did know that it's a bad move, because the queen is overloaded. You take here, you lose the rook here. So you just lose the piece. Yeah, I think I was actually going to go for f5 right away, which is not great. Yeah, I really didn't like this. I mean, I was probably gonna consider something better than f5 in this moment, if the position would be actually like this on the board. But yeah, I didn't really like my chances here. Apparently bishop e7 or bishop f8 even. Oh, bishop f8 is really clever, because after takes, white loses the piece on d4. That's really clever. I actually love that. Yeah, maybe I would have thought about that, but I didn't think of that at first. Yeah. But yeah, I was so sure my opponent would take on f6, and I was a bit terrified of that. But when they didn't do that, I was really happy, and queen f3 was played, and yeah, I could do my idea of playing bishop e5. I was really happy with this. It looks a bit weird to put your bishop on e5, and it feels like it's gonna get captured anytime soon. There will be tactics everywhere, but I think it was doing all right. So my opponent played c3, I played h6, and the bishop went back. Yeah, I was not sure what my opponent's plan was here, but yeah, when she had to retreat, I was feeling really comfortable here. I mean, I don't know if I'm better or anything like that, because if anything, if the pieces will be traded off, my opponent will have a small advantage because of the 3 versus 2 pawn structure here. White is able to create a passed pawn later in the endgame much easier than me. I mean, it's hard for me to create play here. I didn't really know where my play was. I mean, obviously I have to develop this little boy over here at some point, but how? Where? Do I go bishop d7 and then pray that it ever leaves e8? Or do I try to play b5 or b6? Maybe b5 is too weakening. And I play bishop b7 somehow. Yeah, all sorts of things I had to think about. And I didn't know if, like, because of that, I didn't know if I had some sort of advantage. So I played knight d5. I mean, I think it's a logical move. Rook 8 d1. I wasn't sure what my opponent's plan was, so I was thinking like what to do here, and I figured, well, let's play b5. Let's go. And when she played bishop c1, I was like, oh, that's why she played rook d1, because now I cannot take on, well, I cannot capture the bishop ever. I was actually planning to take on e3 on the next move, okay, after bishop b7, obviously. But yeah, bishop c1 really caught me off guard. I really had no idea she was going to play that. But it makes sense, because now my knight will never be able to capture that bishop, and yeah, we continue. Bishop b7 is what I played. Queen h5. I was surprised that she went for queen h5, because all this time I had the idea to take on d4 somehow, and then if I get rid of that knight, then queen c6, and I have a lot of play on this diagonal. So when she played queen h5, I was like, let's go. Bishop takes d4. Rook takes d4. This is one of the exceptions of, you know, not keeping your bishop pair. Because there is a concrete plan here. And look at her bishops. I mean, you would almost say it's, I mean, they are in their starting position, but you'd almost say it's like just 960, you know? So there must be a way for me to be fine here, that I can actually make use of the fact that my opponent's pieces are so, I mean, it's not too bad because they have a lot of axis points still, but surely I must be better here because the bishops are in their starting position. I was confident about my chances here. I didn't know if I was actually better or anything like that, but I did like the idea that I had in a position, which was knight f6. She's forced to trade, or apparently she has other moves, so like queen d1, but that just seems odd to me. Because basically rook takes, queen h3. So the reason why she played queen h3 is because I'm threatening queen c6. And after queen c6, queen h1 checkmate is a threat. So she will have to stop it one way or the other. And I figured, actually, okay, so apparently Engine wants to give away the pawn. So Engine is saying queen e2, queen c6, and Engine is giving away the pawn, which actually makes sense considering that white will still have the pair of bishops. And I mean, black is up a pawn, but white should have some compensation, especially with moves like a4 in the air. Those pawns I feel a little bit loose. Obviously, I should be better, but it will be a challenge to convert this to a win. But what happened in the game was queen h3. And the problem with queen h3 is that if I'm not gonna allow white to play bishop g2, where is this queen going? This queen is a little bit stuck. So I was like, hold up there. And I started thinking of, I mean, obviously, if I play queen c6 now, she will play bishop g2. I mean, that was the idea all along after queen h3. So I didn't like that, obviously. I didn't want to trade everything off. So I went for queen a5. I was trying to create more weaknesses or more access points because in this position, I don't really have anything. I have this really nice diagonal controlled, but I don't really have anything else because she's defending that. I need to create more weaknesses, create more access points. And I started with queen a5. Now I'm trying to get her to play a3. Apparently it was not the best move. Apparently there were two other good moves, but I don't really like them. So there's knight e4 and b4 here. Knight e4 and after bishop g2, knight d2. Yeah, I don't like that, see? This happened later in the game, but this version, it really doesn't look pleasant to me because I don't know, it feels like this knight can be captured any moment. It doesn't feel right. I guess it's still fine, like I can see why it's good, but logically speaking, it just doesn't feel right. And to push the knight so far into white's camp, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I mean, I see the threats, I guess, like there's knight f3 sort of ideas, but it doesn't feel right. Okay, so I went for the move queen a5. So a3 happened, and I played queen a4. So the light squares are horrendously weak over here. And my idea is that after bishop g2, poof, and she will have the worst time defending this position with this bishop on c1. This bishop is really problematic. I mean, first of all, she has to figure out how to trade because she's forced to trade the rooks. But in what way will she be able to survive this? Because if king f1, there's queen c4 check, and it's actually going to be checkmate soon. If she takes, queen takes, and she's losing the bishop. That's how sad this position is. And obviously that's why she didn't play bishop g2. But this was my idea, to get the rook to d1 and then play around the light squares and enjoy the power of the French bishop. Yes, my friends. Yes, my friends. This is the power of the French bishop. I've been telling you all along that this is what happens when you play the French, but nobody ever believed me. Let's see how the position developed. Bishop e2 was played. Really annoying move because my plan is to play rook d1. I want to get my rook there, but what's next? Because if I play queen e4, she'll play f3. And I don't know where to continue because sooner or later she'll consolidate, and once she does, she'll have the pair of bishops and I have nothing. So, yeah, I didn't really like this position. I mean, I like the position a lot. I just don't know how to improve my position even more. So I played queen c2, basically threatening something, because if she plays queen h4, I will happily take her bishop and checkmate. Boom. Obviously she's not going to play that, and she didn't, but just in case, throwing a little trick there. But okay, she went for queen f1, which was a move I considered, and it seems very logical because our idea is to play rook d1, consolidate, trade everything, and enjoy the pair of bishops. Here I was thinking, like, okay, what do I do with my life? I have a beautiful position. One misstep and all my advantage will be gone because the next move is rook d1. I'm aware of this, I know it, but what do I do? And then it struck me that knight e4 is, I guess, a move. It looks very shaky. It's like you're not supposed to play this, but I couldn't see anything else because what else do you do? Like if you retreat f5, queen f5, she just plays rook d1. If I move the bishop, rook d1. Like any move is followed by rook d1. Even knight e4 is followed by rook d1. But the catch is that after knight e4, rook d1, I have knight d2. And there is a bazillion, million, trillion threats in the position. If she takes, which is a logical move, she didn't play this, but it's a logical approach to the position, takes. The problem is that my bishop is still very active, and the b2 pawn is under attack, and it feels like white's queen side will simply fall apart because the queen is not able to defend both the bishop and this pawn on b2. So I like my chances here. I calculated queen d1, queen takes b2, queen d8, king h7, and if bishop d3, I'll play f5. And here I'm Gucci. The pawns over here are extremely vulnerable. My bishop is chef's kiss, background problems maybe. So I thought this is completely winning. She played the move queen e1, which was the move that I thought was also best to play here. No, if queen h3, there's actually knight f3 check. And this is also lost. Bishop takes and... No, not queen takes, I mean... I wanted to play fancy, but I guess there's no need to do this. Bishop takes and... Yeah, queen takes, queen here, and then queen f3, and it's checkmate soon. So, yeah. That's also really bad. So queen e1 is the top move. And here I thought, boom! I'm back. I'm back in the house. And she has to play f3. And then I take with check. Boom! And yeah, it's crazy how everything works, because if this move was not in position, I'm screwed. This knight is pinned. This knight is attacked by 3 pieces and only defended by 1. And this rook is not defended. So I can't leave with the knight whatsoever. But luckily I had knight takes f3. I considered queen e3 for a split second because I thought, well, maybe I can finish the game quicker. But the problem is that after king g2, so I'm forced to take on f3. I mean, otherwise I just lose the knight. Bishop takes, queen takes check, and then simply king g1, and then I'm gonna lose the knight. So I thought, yeah, that's bad. That's really, really bad. That's really bad. So I was like, okay. I mean, I know this line, knight takes f3 is winning, as in I will win the pawn, and we will have an endgame, and I'll have to fight to the very end to convert it. But yeah, I was just making sure maybe I'm missing like a simple win or something. So bishop takes f3. And here I have a few options. I can take on d1. And I can take on e1. Now the problem is that after rook takes, so they will take queen takes. I'll take here, takes, and we'll have opposite color bishops. Now you would say that you're a pawn up, you should win this game, this endgame, but because of the opposite color bishops, it's almost impossible to win this. The defense for white is so easy. Just park this bishop anywhere on a good, decent square, and there's nothing that I'm able to do. Nothing. This bishop will just control the dark squares, and I'm not able to control the dark squares because I have a light squared bishop. So if my bishop was here, it's completely winning, you know? I mean, completely, I probably still need to work a little bit to win, but I would heavily consider trading everything off if my bishop was on a different square. But that was not the case, so that's why I didn't take on d1. I took on e1. And here we have a rook and bishop endgame. It's tough. It's really, really tough because currently you don't want to trade rooks. Currently you don't want to. And it's a strange kind of position because I'm a pawn up, but my opponent has a pawn extra on the queen side. So there's potential for a passed pawn there. And yeah, maybe my opponent has some compensation there. So I was not so sure if I'm able to convert this. I was thinking like, okay, if Magnus would have this position, he would win for sure, 100%. But me, I don't know. So king f2 is played. Here we are on move 32. We were in a bit of time trouble, but okay, we don't have you know, a crazy position anymore. No more tactics, really. I mean, still a little bit, but nothing too crazy, nothing too sharp. So we were in a bit more comfortable place, especially me. I mean, bishop d5. Yeah, I don't know. I was just trying to not trade rooks. So I was thinking of playing bishop g4 to stop this pawn from moving to g4 and, maybe play f6, e5. But I didn't like rook e4, rook d4, and yeah, I didn't like that. That's why I put my bishop on d5. I was like, I just centralize it and make sure that this rook is not getting to d4. We're not doing that. No. My opponent played g4, which was a bit surprising to me. I thought my opponent will not touch the pawns, just move around with pieces and simply wait. But she decided to trade, not trade, but I mean, she did eventually trade the pawns, but like, she decided to push the pawns. So I played bishop c4, my opponent played bishop e3, and I went for e5. You're not getting your bishop on d4 or whatever, wherever you wanted. And I'm continuing my plan to play f6 and somehow push my pawns. I don't know how, but somehow. So she played bishop c1, she went back. I played f6, h4, bishop e6. I was a bit surprised that she's really desperately trying to push the pawns, because typically you would say that, it helps me. Why would you do that? But I guess I understand the idea that maybe it will be a bit more difficult for me to push my pawns, because after h takes g5, h takes g5, king f7, she took on f6, takes on f6, and the problem is that once my pawns get to light squares, it will be very difficult for me to make any sort of progress, because this bishop, this monster, will block all my pawns. So I understand the idea, but I was happy with, this. So rook h1, bishop f5. I didn't want to allow rook h7 check. Bishop e3, king e6, rook h4. I was a bit surprised by rook h4, but I realized the idea, obviously, to either play c4 or a4, most likely a4. So I spent quite some time here trying to figure out, like, what do I want? I mean, I want to win, but how? And I can't really play a move like e4, I can't do that. So I had to be a bit creative here, and I went with rook d1, which is apparently the top move, which makes me really happy. But the idea is that I'm hunting down this weakness on b2. It's the only weakness in white's position, pretty much. And if I'm able to play around on the queen side, it will be much easier for me to win this game, because her plan is basically to trade off all the pawns, especially the ones on the queen side. And once she will be able to do that, it might be very difficult for me to win this endgame, because if the bishop will take those two pawns over here on e5 and f6, it will be much more difficult for me to win this game. So yeah, that was her idea, obviously, but I felt like after rook d1, I have really good chances. So she played a4, I played rook b1, and rook b4 was played, and here I was really happy because bishop d3, and she played bishop b6, which was a bit surprising to me, because now bishop c4, and goodbye rook! Goodbye rook, because the rook is trapped. And obviously she still found a way to, free the rook, but it took so much time. You'll see what happened. A takes b5, a takes b5, king e3. So her plan was, I mean, obviously you don't want to play b3, because I'll take that. So here I'm not afraid of trading rooks, because basically takes, and since I have those two passed pawns connected, I'm able to push them slowly one by one. I need to make sure that they put them on dark squares so the bishop can't block them. And as long as I keep on doing that, this bishop cannot trade for the two pawns because of this boy over here. This pawn is saving my life. Without the pawn, I'm not even sure if it's winning, like if it's theoretically winning, but I think it's really difficult. It may be winning still, but I'm not sure. I have no idea. A takes b5, a takes b5, and my opponent went for queen e3. So the idea is that she will put her king on c2, and then she'll be able to play b3. The idea is that after b3, bishop d5, like imagine I'm not able to take c4, and what I was seeing is that I can take this pawn. I can take that. But I was probably in a very different position somewhere in my thoughts, because it's not possible in the position whatsoever. But I was thinking that, the rook will be hanging, so the pawn will be pinned. So, okay, anyways, I don't know. It probably wasn't possible in a position whatsoever, but okay. So king d2, f4, king c2, rook h1, and yeah, she will be able to play b3 now, but I'll play rook h2. And she will have to put her king on the first rank, which I'm really happy about because now my pawns will become much more stronger and much more powerful. So she played c4. I was considering to just push the pawns, but I didn't like rook takes b5, even though that's seems to be winning. What? Oh wait, okay, king b1, rook takes c4. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure if this was winning. I guess, I mean, apparently it is, but at the board I was a bit terrified. Rook d5. Oh, this is made in 5. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Then what was I afraid of? I don't remember. I don't know. I just wanted to take. I didn't feel comfortable about rook takes b5 somehow. Rook c2 check, king d1, e4. So I played this check because I didn't want her to play rook b2. Apparently it's not a big deal, but for me it is. I didn't want her allow her to play rook b2, so I played rook c2 check. Obviously she cannot go here because I'll take it will be a check and I'll win her rook. So that's why she goes here. I play e4, rook b3, and here I play the move f3. I am putting my pawns on light squares. Yes, I was slightly terrified after bishop e3. I was like, wait, did I miss something? But no, there's f2. I was confident. I mean, I did have to double check here, but f2, rook b6, king f5, rook b5, king g4, and after rook g5, there's king f3, and I'm just simply promoting or winning the bishop. So yeah, she took on f2, rook takes f2, rook e5, king f4, rook h5. And here I was thinking, like, how do I finish this as soon as possible? And I was like, get the rook off the board, and there's no way you can not win this. Because I was still scared that somehow I take the pawn on c4, I'm gonna chill, and boom, stalemate. So I was like, bishop e2, rook off the board, and easy win. Easy win. So, yeah. Yeah, it was a nice game. It was a really nice game. What is the secret today?